Clinton may have gotten President Obama's endorsement.
Look, I know how hard this job can be. That's why I know Hillary will be so good at it. In fact, I don't think there's ever been someone so qualified to hold this office.
But Secretary Clinton also getting in some new troubles. The White House, for the first time, apparently admitting that the FBI investigation into Clinton is a, quote, criminal investigation. They use those words. The apparent admission coming after Fox's James Rosen pressed the White House press secretary on whether the president's endorsement of Clinton could affect the investigation. Here's part of that exchange.
You don't think that that career prosecutor or that FBI agent takes that as some indication of how the president wants to see this case resolved?
Those career prosecutors understand that they have a job to do, and that job that they are supposed to do, which is to follow the facts, to pursue the evidence to a logical conclusion, that is a job that they are responsible for doing without any sort of political interference. And the president expects them to do that job.
And joining us from townhall.com, one of my favorites, Guy Benson. Great that you're here with us tonight, Guy. I appreciate it. And let me ask you something. Is this going to matter? Because it's one revelation after the next about Hillary Clinton. And I mean, wow, when you think about it for a minute, U.S. president just endorsed someone who is in fact under criminal investigation.
Well, happy Friday, Kimberly, but maybe not such a happy Friday for the Clinton campaign because of the issues that you just raised. And I think these are legitimate questions that have to be asked. It's not just the president endorsing Hillary Clinton this week, saying that he's got her back. People wondering, does that extend to his Department of Justice that has been very politicized during his tenure? But you remember a few months back, he opined publicly that Hillary Clinton had not broken the law, had not endangered national security, while a lot of evidence actually points in another direction. So whether he is deliberately coloring this case or tipping the scales or putting his thumb on the scale, it certainly looks that way. And the appearance of impropriety, I think, is a serious one. It
really is when you think about it, and you see the pictures of them there together. I mean, she was his Secretary of State. He's now endorsed her. She's under investigation. He's essentially, overseeing that. Yet, I mean, that would actually, in my opinion, as an attorney, be a good reason for him to say, I'm going to stay out of it. There's a pending investigation. But nevertheless, it seems like Obama, Biden, Warren, all throwing Hillary Clinton a lifeline, while at the same time Bernie Sanders is refusing to get out.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is by accident, I don't think they did this on purpose, but the White House made things a little bit harder for Hillary Clinton this week with that admission by Josh Earnest that we just played, calling it a criminal investigation. That is something that her campaign has denied falsely for months. They called it a security review, which is not a thing. The FBI came out and said, no, this is a criminal investigation, which it is. And so, look, again, it's not the FBI that determines whether or not she gets prosecuted. They can only recommend criminal charges. And even that, I think, might be a stretch given the very politicized environment right now and the pressure on them, considering that she's going to be the nominee. But if they do put that recommendation forward, will an Obama Justice Department attorney take them up on that recommendation with his attorney general looking right over their shoulder? I think that's an open question.
I mean, can you imagine how horrifying it would be that, the sitting president of the United States endorsed her and then she gets indicted? It seems like it's almost impossible given that fact pattern, and especially in time before November.
And think about this. This president, I think a lot of conservatives at least agree, has a very healthy appetite for his own self-worth. So he's got a pretty big ego. He looks at Hillary Clinton as his only shot at carrying forward his legacy. So he has a dog in this fight for himself as well. It's not just a stake because he's endorsed Hillary. It's his own agenda on some level that will be on the ballot in November, and to have his party's nominee under indictment would be a huge political problem for the Democratic Party, which again feeds into this whole narrative and raises the types of questions that, frankly, are the premise of this segment.
It's really true. The impropriety, the conflict of interest, and the seeming impossibility of an indictment before the general election. Guy Benson, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kimberly.